Hello and thank you for joining me. This is Doug Koenig with the Law Offices of Doug Koenig, and today we're just going to talk a few minutes about the most common healthcare documents that you'll find as a North Carolina resident. Now, in my law practice, we do a lot of work with healthcare documents as well as estate planning, and we find that there are many questions about what kind of healthcare documents are the right ones for each individual family. And for the most part, there are 5 that we tend to see the most of. But I want to talk first about why documents are necessary. You know, as the person ages, as you or your family member ages, decisions become a little more difficult, not only for the family member who's aging, but also for the rest of the family. In fact, sometimes we wait too long to make decisions. And that's a very good reason for decisions to be written down ahead of time, so that as people come to the point where a decision needs to be made, for example, should the person go to the doctor? Which doctor should they go to? What kind of assisted living are they going to require? These are all decisions that come about as the person ages, and they're all harder and harder to make as time goes on. And unfortunately, many decisions need to be made very quickly, especially when there's a crisis going on. The person is ill or has fallen. Perhaps they have suddenly become more confused. These decisions need to be made in a hurry. And when illnesses are even more severe, at those times the doctors may need some direction about the kind of care that a person is going to accept or require. There are many religious issues that may come into play. There are perhaps questions about should the person be resuscitated, or even what kind of treatment or medications they can have. And it's difficult when a family member wants to get involved because HIPAA, the Health Care Portability and Accountability Act, which will often prevent the access to information that people need to make the decisions. And so writing down the decisions, giving authorization ahead of time and so on will help get past the HIPAA regulations. And as I pointed out earlier, some decisions simply need written directions. But perhaps the biggest reason why documents are necessary is because families need peace of mind. They need to know your wishes. And the better job that you do ahead of time by preparing documents, by writing down and sharing your decisions and your wishes for how you want to be treated, all of that, the better job you do, the better your family will appreciate that and make the right decisions for you. So back to the kinds of documents that exist. Typically, we'll see 5 different kinds of documents, and I've got them listed on this screen. They are the Health Care Power of Attorney, Advance Directive, the MOST form, the DNR, and the HIPAA releases. So the Health Care Power of Attorney simply names an agent who makes medical decisions for you when you cannot. That person could be charged with all kinds of healthcare decisions, whether you should be admitted, what kind of facility, what kind of doctor, antibiotics, and so on. That's what the agent does. The agent is the person to whom you give the power. The agent acts and makes decisions based on your wishes. Some of those are defined in documents like the Advance Directive. So the Advance Directive does what it says. It directs medical personnel in advance as to how end-of-life decisions should be treated. So, for example, if I am in a coma, I'm not expected to recover, I'm brain dead, do I want to be kept on life support anymore at that point or not? Do I wish to have my family allow the doctors to stop excessive or extraordinary treatment? That's covered under the Advance Directive. That's a very end-of-life sort of decision. The MOST Directive, or the Medical Order of Scope of Treatment, provides the doctors an opportunity to fine-tune those decisions a little bit more. And perhaps they'll go as far as to identify certain antibiotics to which you're allergic, or your religious directions around how you should be treated. In the event that you have a DNR filed, a lot of people do want that. DNR specifies the orders to doctors as related to breathing or heart. So if you stop breathing, if your heart stops and you're in an operating room, the doctors will not resuscitate you. They will take no extraordinary measures to revive you. And you've probably seen this on TV from time to time, where the doctors will stop. A big DNR sign is posted on the side of the bed, and they let you expire naturally, which is exactly the right thing to do if that's your wish. It does not apply, by the way, to treatment if you're found on the sidewalk in the middle of a heart attack and an EMS is called. The EMS will treat you. They will bring you to the hospital, and all efforts will be made to keep you alive at that point. It's only applicable really if your heart stops, your breathing stops while you're under a hospital's care. And I also mentioned that the HIPAA prevents release of information, and so one of the other documents is a HIPAA release form that names family members or people, attorneys, and so on, who could receive your personal health care information. This protects you, and it provides the greatest degree of protection as well as the proper amount of release of information. So these are the 5 documents: the Health Care Power of Attorney, the Advance Directive, the MOST, the DNR, and the HIPAA release form. Now, when you go to complete these forms, you will find that some of the forms are easily accessible from various agencies, such as maybe your doctor or attorneys or hospitals. That standard health forms, which is really the Health Care Power of Attorney and the Advance Directive, are available from a variety of sources. In North Carolina, they must be witnessed and notarized. That's a very specific rule. There's only a couple of states that require both things to be done to a document, and that law may change in the near future, but for today, a healthcare document has to be witnessed and notarized. Attorneys and other providers cannot provide MOSTs or DNRs. Those can only be done by a doctor, and that requires a pretty in-depth discussion with the doctor, generally signed by a doctor, a physician's assistant, or a nurse practitioner. I do want to point out that MOSTs and DNRs don't replace the other forms. You need to have all of them because each document has a scope or its own place and specific usage, and you could see that in my description from an earlier slide if you want to go back and review that. It's very important once you have these documents that you do something with them. They're no good if they sit in a drawer. You have to make sure you give copies to your agents and potentially to your attorney. It's helpful to get those documents to your healthcare providers. Now, of course, the doctor will have those if they've done the MOST or the DNR themselves. That'll be in your file. But when you go to an attorney or a hospital intake and you do an Advance Directive and you sign that, you want to make sure that you get a copy of that document to your doctors. And before you even name a person, you should really ensure that they're going to do what you want. If you were to have several people involved in your healthcare decisions and one of them says, there's no way I could pull the plug on mom when she's in a coma. I don't care what kind of situation it is. I could never do it. And you want that life support terminated at that point? Well, it's probably better not to ask that daughter to do it because they won't be able to make the decision necessary. So choose your agents wisely and make sure you get copies to the providers. It's also helpful to file these things online because, as I said, keeping them in a drawer isn't very helpful. If you don't give them to the provider, who will know where to find them? And so there are different kinds of repositories for documents online. DocuBank is one. There are several others that you can pay a small fee for on an annual basis. You can also put them in your safe deposit box, or you could use the North Carolina Advanced Healthcare Directive Registry, and I show the website on this slide. If you go there, there's a small fee to retrieve the document. There's no charge to deposit the document. And I do want to point out that online repositories will secure your private information. They'll use passwords or other forms of identification. If you don't tell your family members what the passwords are, they're not going to be able to get those. So it's important that you do provide the information to the family members. Tell them where to find it, what the passwords are to get to it. You'll be helping them out by doing it, and then you'll be helping them even more by making it available to them. Now, healthcare planning is only one set of plans that are available to elder law attorneys. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you what elder law attorneys do for planning. We do, besides healthcare, we do estate plans, we do financial plans such as beneficiaries and helping you set up pay on death accounts. Now we don't do those things ourselves typically, but we'll make sure that you have an understanding of what you need to do to go off and do that. You can also get insurance through financial planners or insurance agents that can be beneficial, all part of the planning process. Powers of attorney for healthcare we mentioned earlier in this presentation, but there are also financial powers of attorney that help people assist you in making financial decisions when you cannot. Another form of planning is simply writing a deed to a different person. So you may deed property to your kids. I want to point out that that's a great planning tool unless you need Medicaid. If you're worried about qualifying for Medicaid or you think you're ill and you're going to need Medicaid sooner than 5 years, it's absolutely essential that you do not transfer property or anything else until you talk to an elder law attorney who's familiar with Medicaid requirements. Other kinds of planning may include contributions. For example, you could give money to charities. You could create a trust that would provide you an income for a long time period after you make the contribution, and that can be extremely useful when you want to create an income and yet also establish a way to give money to a charity down the road. And another very important area for my practice is special needs trusts, which we provide for aged persons or disabled persons of any age who may need public benefits, and then we plan for how those public benefits can be maintained even if there's an inheritance or an amount of money. It's important to know that elder law attorneys and others can do a wide scope of different tools. They can help you in all kinds of different ways, and it's helpful to go see them for planning, guidance, and ideas. So if you want to know more from my office, you can certainly contact me. I have my name, address, and phone number there. Call us at that phone number, 919-883-2800. If you want to schedule an appointment, we're happy to schedule an appointment. We have several different options for that. You can also request one of our books. Planning for Incapacity is one that covers a lot of the issues I mentioned in today's webinar, and I also have a book on estate planning in general. So you can request either of those by calling our office. You can also download a free paper on the 5 planning tools, covering in a little different detail the things we've talked about. I have a short form of the web link on the screen, and you can watch a slightly longer video with a couple of stories from a fictitious family that may be representative of some of our clients, but it's a video that's also available on our YouTube channel. I encourage you to look at any one or all of these, or contact a different attorney of your choice. It's very important that you do plan. These documents, or healthcare documents specifically, are very easy to understand. They should be done. I believe that every person in North Carolina should have a healthcare document filed or available with their doctor. And I want to thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your time. I know that you had perhaps other ways to spend your 15 minutes today, but I appreciate that you spent it with me. Please feel free to give us a call if you need anything. Thank you.